You know, the idea was to do the show very similar to Percy Jackson, where it's a video per episode, with the exception of this one, where it's the two-part finale, or not the two-part, but the two-episode premiere. And that might not end up happening. Not because this is good, oh fuck no, this is horrible. But there is so little that actually happens in this first episode that I'm wondering if I'm gonna even get enough material for 6 videos or 7 videos, however it's gonna be. So, yeah, we have the release of Star Wars The Acolyte, and as you would imagine, it's a fucking disaster. Not just because it's terrible, but because the ratings are hilariously bad. Now, of course, the critics are sucking off to this show. That's what they do with Disney Star Wars. They have to whore themselves out so they can keep getting perks from Disney. But at the time of this recording, the audience score is down at 31%, and it has been dropping for the past 24 hours. Hell, just 24 hours ago, it was up at like 48%, and it has dropped, like I said, all the way to 31 at the time of this recording. And hell, by the time this is posted, it might be even lower, because it has done nothing but drop. And it is 100% deserved. I've gone over all the background elements of this show that, for many, many reasons why people are not looking forward to the show. You could look at Leslie Headland being put in charge, who is the the assistant of Harvey Weinstein. And again, if you don't know what Weinstein did and why this was so controversial, look it up, because I'm not going to get into it, because it has no bearing on how bad this show is. And they've continued to dig their hole deeper the last couple weeks, because they've pulled every woke strategy to try to promote this show, and all it's done is fucking backfire, which I fucking love. Hell, just today, an interview release where the main actor basically came out and said that she hates white people. Again, just imagine a white actor doing something like that in reverse. They would be one of the most hated people in Hollywood if they did that. But considering she's a minority and she's a non-binary minority, she gets a free pass from Hollywood. But let's talk about the show. And this first episode, there is nothing. I mean, stuff technically happens, but none of it was interesting. The opening fight is hilariously awful, and it just kinda starts. The assassin, played by Amanda Stenberg, who we'll get to later, she just kinda walks in, and her second line, she tells the Jedi, "Attack me." No, really, that's the actual line. They couldn't even come up with a reason how this fight starts. She just comes in and tells the Jedi to fight her. Yeah, we're off to a great... And then the fight is awful. You can tell they're not trying to hit each other, and even when they do make contact, the moves are so slow, and they're not... You can tell they're trying to not hurt each other. They're, like, lightly tapping each other, and the sound effects kind of match. They're kind of just there. And the dialogue throughout the fight is horrible. Again, it's just... The dialogue throughout this show is horrible. I'll get more into that later. And then the Jedi, played by Carrie Ann Moss, who you probably know from The Matrix and absolutely nothing else. She eventually pulls out her lightsaber, and the music makes a big crescendo, because you can tell that this is for the Disney Star Wars fans that just want to see, ooh, lightsaber, I see lightsaber! That's really what it is. It's just that music is just telling you clap because there's a lightsaber on screen. Then this Jedi gets killed. This is Disney Star Wars where nobody dies, so I'm not convinced this character is dead for even a second. That's the point we're at with Disney Star Wars, where where they're telling you on screen that somebody's dead, and I don't fucking believe it. Because, and the thing that really snapped that was Book of Boba Fett, where they showed Cobb Vanth getting shot, again, by Cad Bane. Again, didn't believe it because he got shot in the fucking shoulder. Then they literally said in dialogue in the next episode, or maybe it was later in that episode, that he was killed by Cad Bane, and then they still pulled a 180 with the very last shot of the show with him in the back to tank. So they've lost any nobody believes that they kill somebody off when they're quote-unquote dead in the show. Also, you brought in a actress from The Matrix, a big movie franchise, just to kill her off in the first scene of the show. Again, until she doesn't show up again for the entire series, I'm not buying it whatsoever. And then there's a scene of a Jedi leading a meditation group. The one that was made fun of in the trailer with the yellow alien that couldn't close his eyes, and I even made fun of when I talked about the trailer. And they just rip off dialogue from the other movies without really understanding its meaning. And that's Disney Star Wars in a nutshell, really. They just take things from the other movies, but don't have a fucking clue what any of it means in context. And we get one of the stupidest dream sequences, or maybe some Force vision from the Padawan who deserted the Order. I don't remember her name. And then there was an obvious twin twist that is really stupid, and it was the most obvious setup where the Jedi who trained this character is talking about how she had a sister who, like, burned down a forest that, like, killed her family, and she was the sole survivor. He's like, no, her twin is absolutely dead. She's not alive, she's totally dead. I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said, but really, that's what he said in a nutshell. He's like, no, you might as well have just looked at the audience and said, no, she's totally dead. You might as well have done that. And big shock, it's revealed that the ACOLYTE, the one that's hunting the Jedi, is the twin. Why? I don't know this. And I've heard that from critics, because this is the same thing with Percy Jackson, where critics saw the first 4 episodes, and then only the first 2 were released to the public. I've heard it gets worse after episode 2. This episode was just so unengaging because really what happens is this character gets captured by the Republic, and the main character-ish, the one played by Stenberg, she gets captured by the Republic, escapes the ship, only to run around for a bit and get captured again. So what was the point of this episode, really? And that we're not done with the shit dialogue, because the final line of the episode is, because they're talking about there's to say, an acolyte doesn't kill with a weapon, an acolyte kills the dream. What? What fucking... Oh, man. It's clearly obvious that this episode was written and directed by Hedberg herself, or Hedlund herself, because this is one of the most incompetently made episodes. I think we might have found a rival for Percy Jackson for the worst Disney Plus show. Even Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ahsoka couldn't stoop to the level of awfulness that Percy Jackson was. And hell, you can tell that I just didn't want to watch this show at all, because Percy Jackson I saw immediately when it hit Disney Plus, and immediately reviewed it because I knew everybody wanted me to talk about it. I know people want me to talk about this show, but good God, I didn't want to watch it. I put this off for 2 days. I could have watched it when it came out, but I kept putting it off. And I've still got another episode to go before I can finish this review, so we'll see what happens with that. And episode 2 wasn't any better. I didn't expect it to be, but this is just pathetic. I mean, not that it dropped, like, massively in terms of quality, since episode 1 was already pretty much bottom of the barrel. It's just as bad, but it somehow got even more boring. It starts off with the assassin, I think May is her name, trying to kill a Jedi who's in a meditative state. And she's apparently too stupid to take the hint that she can't fucking hit him, because she spends like an entire minute whacking away at this invisible force field, and it looks quite silly, don't get me wrong, and then the rest of the episode revolves around her trying to kill this Jedi, and the other Jedi we've been following with her twin, is it Osha? Is that her name? Something? I don't know, that's what I'm gonna call her. Them trying to capture her. And it is made very clear during the fight scene at the end that May is the fucking worst assassin I've ever seen in my entire life. They constantly have her doing all these martial arts moves that look really silly, like a bunch of flips for no reason that should get her killed because she's constantly exposing herself to her enemy. But I guess her enemy doesn't want to draw... The Jedi don't want to draw their fucking lightsabers for some reason. I mean, this is an assassin trying to kill Jedi. At this point, capturing or killing, it doesn't matter. If you have to kill her, just fucking do it. But apparently they're just as stupid as she is, and again, the fight is really bad and really silly. Something I didn't mention in the first... There was a lot I didn't mention, like, of the overall of this show. The acting is awful. Everybody's bad, especially Amanda Stenberg. She is terrible in this show, and apparently they didn't fucking realize it because they gave her 2 characters for this show, and she is awful in both of them. She has no emotion. She can't... Her line delivery is unnatural. She's not intimidating. It's fucking silly watching her trying to be this badass, dark side assassin. It's just fucking silly. And the show, it looks cheap as fuck. But this show was not cheap. This show had a budget of $180 million, which per episode would amount to about $22.5 million. And I've seen fan films that look about the same as this show. The sets are lazy, the costume design is bland, the effects are barely even there. There are hardly any effects, like actual special effects used so far. So, where is all that money going? How much money went into Leslie Headland's pockets? I'm assuming about 90% of it, but even still, and it's not even like the case of Percy Jackson, or any of the other shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi, where the effects look like garbage, so I can't figure out where the massive budgets went, because Percy Jackson had roughly, $15 million per episode? This one had $7.5 million more, has a smaller cast, and looks this bland. And again, nothing looks, like, abhorrent. Again, there's hardly any special effects. I think the only, CGI we've had, maybe the ships and the one lightsaber that showed up for about 30 seconds in episode 1. That's about it. And none of it looked awful, but where is all that money going? And again, the set design, the backgrounds, the costumes, this all looks like stuff out of fan films. I mean, again, it's not horrible. I can't say it's horrible because it technically looks like Star Wars, but again, looking at the inside of the ships, it looks so bland. I'm assuming they film most of the stuff on a soundstage with the background, and it just, again, it looks bland as hell. I don't know where Disney is shoving all this money. It's the same thing I said with their animated films like Lightyear and Wish. Why did those movies cost $200 million? I don't know, especially Wish, which was like $180 million, I think. How did that cost $180 million? That did not look like a $180 million project. And this definitely doesn't look like a $180 million project. This looks about maybe $18,000 project. At best. So, and again, the rest of the episode is just... It's the same as the first one. The assassin trying to kill Jedi and being the worst assassin on the planet. The Jedi and the twin trying to hunt her down, and it's not interesting in the slightest. None of these characters have any personality, and it's not help with the acting is really bland. I don't know how much I can pin on the actors. I've never thought Stenberg was a very good actor, but everybody else, I don't know if I can blame them or if I blame Headland's shitty scripts, because she can't direct this show worth crap. All the dialogue shots are just medium shot, reverse shot with nothing really to look at. And again, and then all the action shots, it's just bland. There's no style to this show whatsoever. As bad as Obi-Wan Kenobi was, it at least had some semblance of style every once in a while. I mean, at least the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Vader at the end was okay. It had issues, but it was at least somewhat entertaining in a vacuum. Nothing in this show is entertaining in a vacuum. Although at least not intentionally entertaining, because both the fight scenes that we've gotten in this show, I couldn't stop laughing. And it's not because they were intentionally funny, it's because all of the choreography looks terrible, everybody looks fucking silly, they're trying way too hard to look cool, and it looks ridiculous. I can't take anything in this show seriously. Again, especially since the assassin is just so unintimidating that I can't take this show seriously. When your main threat is so unintimidating, I can't take it seriously. Just like Percy Jackson, I couldn't take it seriously with Luke because he just wasn't very intimidating. Or hell, even Ares in that show, who's a fucking pro wrestler, wasn't that intimidating. Mostly helped that the guy wasn't the greatest actor, and it also didn't help that his sword prop looked like it was from Party City, so there's that. But here, again, I just keep reiterating this. It's silly. It's dumb. And again, oh my god, I can't even. Because all of the background stuff with this show is already bad enough that the show was gonna tank regardless. But it is awful. And I've heard it gets worse after this episode. I'm assuming because they really haven't pushed their big gay message that they've been talking about with this show. I'm assuming that comes in episodes 3 and 4 and beyond, because we haven't really seen it yet, because nothing's fucking happened in this show yet. So I'm assuming that's what the next episodes have, and you can guarantee that's gonna suck. This is already shaping up to be worse than Percy Jackson, and that is a feat, let me tell you, because I've been saying that Percy Jackson is probably my least favorite show of all time, maybe other than Glee and Teen Titans Go. That's the level that show was at. This is already fighting for that spot. This is fighting to be possibly the worst Disney Plus show. Well, I say that not having watched that new Doctor Who, because I don't really give a shit about Doctor Who in the first place, and I've heard it's trash anyway, so I don't really feel the need to watch it, but either way, but as ones I've seen, this is shaping up to be the worst one. There are other Disney Plus movies and stuff that could fight for the bottom spot too, like Cheaper by the Dozen, which I couldn't even get a minute into. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, but we're 2 episodes in, and this is just a fucking nightmare, and I'm so glad this is getting trashed. 31% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes as of this recording, and a 4.9 on IMDb. And that's the weighted score. Unweighted, it's probably even lower, because that's what happens with Disney shows. They try to boost, the IMDb tries to boost the ratings. So that's all I got, and I can't say I'm excited for episode 3.